Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
We got a soup terrorist. Rainer's blowing a canister, and we're the most wanted in the country. But don't you worry. Daddy's home.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Stuff and Things Podcast. We're talking The Boys Season 4. I am Sam. Joining me to break down Episode 4 of Season 4 is my partner in crime, it's Stefan.
Are we ready for our latest therapy session of what the heck have I just seen?
Yeah.
It's The Boys!
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god. Every week I'm like, what can they do now? Oh my god. Okay.
There is often a lot to process after an episode of The Boys. The guy who's like the showrunner, there's a guy called Eric Kripke. He did a show called Supernatural, which was on network TV. And I kind of feel like he obviously wanted to push the boundaries with that and was always kind of reined in. I get the impression he has like, oh, you know, I got this vampire and I wanted to rip the throat out. And they were like, no, you can't do that on network TV, just a little bite. Ugh. So then he gets like this comic book, The Boys, and Amazon agree to make it. And he's like, okay, can I do this? And they've gone, yeah. And he's like, really? And they've gone, yeah, you're good. And he's like, okay, can I do this? And they're like, yeah, go for it. Okay, can I have a guy duplicate himself, get naked, in a row, licking his own asshole whilst jacking off? Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like every single episode this guy's just trying to get a no.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you mind if I take things that are happening in the real world and just kind of amplify them massively and use Homelander instead?
See,
yeah, fucking go for it. They love it.
No, see, now you've just opened up a can of worms now, because The Boys, for 3 seasons, for me anyway, and for me and a fair few people who have been watching, have been doing exactly what you just said, which is holding up a kind of dark mirror.
Very dark, very tainted mirror. Yep.
The Netflix show Dark Mirror, which literally does this. But The Boys has kind of held up a bit of a mirror to society, saying, you know, this is going on, you know, and this is going on, and we're just basically dialing this up to 11 with superheroes to really show you, to really illustrate the point. Now, they've done that for 3 seasons, and I've picked out things, and it's like so obvious to me, and lots of people have, you have, and we've discussed it on podcasts, and I've seen other people discuss it, and just kind of like, oh, that was clever, you know, that wasn't even subtle, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we get to season 4, and there's large-scale campaigns and people trying to get The Boys cancelled because it's gone woke.
Oh, the world's favourite word at the moment.
It is kind of... I've said this before, and I always kind of feel like this way, that the woke thing, I don't like it. I don't like it from any angle at all. I'm a big believer, and the problem is, as I'm a white guy, middle-aged white guy, so really my opinion on this, I know everyone's going to tell me is invalid, but my opinion is everything's evolution, not revolution. When you try and do something by force, when you try and do something by, you all must accept this, people fight back.
Yep.
People will be angry. They don't like being told. If things are done in a natural, progressive way, people get there. You know, a very good friend of mine is gay. He's older than me, and when he was born, being gay in the UK was illegal. By the time he was sort of in his teens and realised he was gay, it wasn't illegal, but my word, you know, you couldn't tell your family or anyone. And by the time he's an adult and like living his life, he's married to a man, very happy, they've adopted a child, and no one even bats an eyelid anymore. Like, to him, his whole fight, his whole desire was to be treated equally and normally. Normally, sorry, that's a bad word, but treated equally, treated the same as anybody else, and just be able to live his life without scolding and, you know, people looking down their nose. And he does that every single day. He's a nice guy. I work with him. Now, he looks at the woke movement and the kind of the way things have gone, and he literally just shakes his head like this is a nightmare, because it's like they've not learned from all the pain and suffering that people have gone through in the past to get to the point of please just treat us equally. Now it's no, treat us differently, treat us I'm different, I'm special, I'm this, I'm that, you must do this. So he struggles with it, and I kind of, and I get where he's coming from, and from my point of view, I've always tried to sort of I accept everyone for what they are, and, you know, okay, you're this, okay, that's great, you crack on. But I understand at least in my understanding and my belief is when you try and demand and tell people this, like this woke movement, you get this backlash. You get this kind of natural anger at things. And me and you have discussed it, that Disney feel like a box ticking exercise now rather than telling stories. Like, you tell a good story with gay, LGBTQ characters or anything like that, everyone's engaged in the story, and all of these characters are just normal, their lifestyle's normal because you're just engaged in the story. If you are focused on a story and then you have a 10-minute monologue about someone coming out or something like that, it's clearly been put in there to tick a box. Like, there's no need for it. The world exists, these people exist, everyone exists, all shapes, all colours, all these different things. There's no need to have this kind of running monologue dialogue. But that's what's happening with a lot of studios. And because I think it went to the nth degree, you then have this monumental kind of backlash. And Stephen Fry is a very intelligent man, said this, that he said that the greatest recruiting drum for the people on the right is the monumental failure of the people on the left, in sense of, rather than just being like demanding people listen to this point of view or demanding that they adhere to these sort of things, the woke argument is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So when you get to a show like The Boys, and you get to this show where they are holding up this mirror, like in this very extreme way, and you've watched it for 3 seasons, like me and you have, and it's been thought provoking, like, oh wow, yeah, that's kind of eerie how that aligns with what's going on in the world, and I hadn't thought of it from that point of view before and stuff like that. And then you get to season 4, and it's doing the same thing. Now, me personally, and I've just been talking a lot, so apologies, but me personally, I don't think season 4 has changed in that regard. I feel like it's just continued doing the same thing. The only thing that threw me, but not because I have a problem with it, but just because I didn't think he was that way, was Frenchie. Like, when you said to me, it's like, oh, he's clearly always been bi, or I was like, yeah, but I always thought he was kind of in love with Kimiko. So that was just me. That was just a kind of, oh, okay, I thought he was in love with her. And then before that, there was the other character whose name escapes me now. So, yeah, so I kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, well, that's, yeah.
I don't think, you can't argue the fact he was definitely in love with Sherry and in love with Kimiko. There's no doubt about it. I think it was just where she very much told him nothing was ever going to happen.
Yeah.
He's kind of gone, move on. What's next?
Yeah, probably.
And it turned out to be the son of a murdered family, which is a fun twist.
Pretty messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, like I just said, I mean, I've just gone off on a monologue myself then, which probably means a lot of people have switched off or are currently planning to burn me in effigy. But I mean, it's just,
I can feel your inbox pinging away.
Yeah. It's fine. I mean, we've talked about a lot the kind of I don't know what the right term is, but the kind of box ticking exercises that it feels like a lot of people have done. And rather than focusing on stories, you've done that, and now there is this massive backlash. You've seen Disney have its worst ever year because of the backlash. Now that people can point to say, oh, they're all racist, they're all bigots, everything, but that's not the case. You know, and by lumping them all in together, and don't get me wrong, there's definitely some far right people amongst it, but by lumping everyone in together, saying that everybody who feels this way is that, all you're doing is pushing them that way. All you're doing is pushing people who are in the middle, the centrists, who just think, oh, this focus, tell me a good story. Like, I don't care about everything else. Like, and not in a kind of, I don't care about you or whatever. It's just like, it doesn't bother me. I don't need a, public service announcement and educating on this. Like, I'm fine with it, but I want to watch a movie. I want to watch a TV show. So it is strange to me that we've now got this point where the backlash to that is now gone to the extreme. It's like the overcorrection. So like for too long, cinema wasn't that inclusive, and it overcorrected, in my opinion. And now you add a reaction to that, which now again is almost over. Like, it's kind of calling the boys woke. It just doesn't make sense. Like, to me,
it now feels like if you don't like something, but you're not 100% sure either A, why you don't like it, or you don't really have a strong enough argument as to why you don't like it, then you just say, oh, it's woke.
Yeah.
Because you say that and people go, oh, yeah, it is. Instead of someone going, I didn't like that show, and you going, oh, what didn't you like about it? And them going, oh, actually, do you know what? I didn't like the fact that Homelander has gone to the degree he's gone to. I don't like, or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that and having an actual opinion to do something, it's just, oh, it's all woke, isn't it?
Yeah,
oh, right.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. I mean, that it does just appear to be a kind of, because again, we've got social media accounts and stuff, and we post about the boys in various different shows and films. I mean, we did a post recently because we do news across our social media of like upcoming TV shows and movies, and we'll post the rumors and we'll post like when stuff's confirmed. And I posted about a project that's coming for Star Trek, and I posted about the actors. Oh, and this is coming, and there were a load of comments in there just like, oh, more woke garbage. Now, literally, the announcement is 2 paragraphs of this show is going to be set at Starfleet Academy, and this actress is going to play a role as like the head of the Starfleet Academy. It's in pre-production, and we'll go ahead.
So no one knows what the storyline is. No one knows what the rest of the characters are. No one knows really anything other than the fact it's set at the academy,
and a woman's been cast,
and this one woman is cast, and that's it. But it's now more woke garbage. And it's like, and I recently had an argument with a Star Wars in quotations fan, over the Acolyte being just absolute woke garbage. And I asked, what have you seen in that makes you think that? Well, I haven't watched it because it's woke garbage. I'm like, so how are you telling me it's crap?
Yeah.
You know, and again, I think this is now what's going to, unfortunately, seems to be happening with the boys. People that have watched 3 episodes of it have now gone, oh, season 4's woke. And it's like, but season 4 is absolutely no different to seasons 1, 2, and 3.
And interestingly,
they've pushed the boundaries on a few things that make you go, oh, that feel a bit queasy.
But that's the same.
But that's the same as they've always done. Yeah.
Interestingly as well, Amazon have released figures to show that the viewership is 20% up on last season.
Now those statistics always make me chuckle a little bit.
Yeah.
If they're up by 20%,
does
that mean 20% of those people, the 20% is up, didn't watch season 3? They've just watched season 4? In which case, they need to go back and watch the first 3 seasons, because a lot of it won't make sense.
I see what you mean.
Like, how does that work?
No, I see what you mean, but what they're discussing is initial reaction, the literal viewership. So,
like the first 48 hours or whatever.
So when you release the first 3 episodes as a block, within the first 7 days, it was streamed X amount of times. Season 4, in that same block, same period, is up 20% on what the previous seasons were.
That makes more sense, because otherwise I'm like, that's 20% of people watching this going, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I mean, there's also shows like, There's I can't remember which one. It's a Disney Plus show, and I can't remember which one it is. Where basically hardly anyone watched season one. It's a show which I think is quite big in the States, but it's on Disney Plus in the UK. Only Murderers in the Building or something like that.
I started watching that.
Oh, see, I know I've never seen it, but it's on like season 4 now. But in the UK, it just like no one watched it. It was just like it's got a great cast, like all people I recognise, but it's just apparently it was like tens of thousands streamed in the first season. For whatever reason, perhaps TikTok viral stuff or whatever, season 2 coming, the marketing perhaps was a little bit better. Something like 3 million binge watched season 1 in a week. So when you got these series on streaming platforms, that initial figure and then the jump in season 2 can be insane because sometimes people just don't, like, shows don't catch fire. You know, it's not quite when we all had network TV and we had to sit through the adverts. And invariably, the adverts would be like promoting the TV channel's new shows. You kind of like, oh, check that out. With streaming services, if you're not really on social media a lot, looking at kind of trailers and things like I am, you're not going to see a lot of stuff.
And not in fact, like, I look at one of my favourite shows was The Good Place. I caught that as season 3 was about to start and had to binge watch 1 and 2 to catch up with 3. So I completely. It's a good show, but I completely understand what you're saying about the delayed viewing figures. Yeah.
So we got an episode.
Talk about The Boys.
Yeah, we got an episode of The Boys to talk about. It is season 4, episode 4. The title of the episode was
Wisdom of the Ages.
And yes, it was.
Boom! He's back. Hey.
If you were to describe this episode in one word, and you can't use the word rank, what word would you choose?
The fuck?
I don't. That's 2 words.
No, it's DAF. It's like
no. You can't use made up words.
Okay, in that case, just wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So I'm gonna walk through kind of storylines in this episode. I'm gonna start with.
I'd suggest tiptoeing to avoid the mess.
No, I'm going to start with Sister Sage because we kind of ended last week's podcast discussing what the hell was that on the table, why suddenly was she wanting the deep inside her, and what we learned this week is that she was basically lobotomizing herself. So her brain heals and keeps expanding. And having that much knowledge, that much kind of, all of that is too much for her. She wants to shut off. And the only way she can do that is to literally give herself a lobotomy. And then it repairs itself. And she asks the Deep to do it.
Yeah.
Now, that scene, I couldn't watch. My eyes, stuff around my eyes, stuff like that, I can't. Like that just, no. So I'll hold my hands up and say I listened to that scene. When I watched
that could have been worse.
It was. It actually probably was.
There were squelching noises and stuff that came with it.
But the thing that in that scene cracked me up, which, and I'm sorry guys, I'm throwing us all under the bus here, is the level that we will go to as men when a woman says, "I'll let you fuck me up the ass." Because she's like, "I need you to give me a lobotomy, drive this through my arm." And he's like, "Fuck no, what are you talking about?" "No, I will let you fuck me up the ass while we watch TV." And he's like, "Yep, okay, what do I do? Just drive that in there?" Oh my god. Deep, you are holding a mirror up to all of us men, and we don't look good in that mirror, my friend.
That's not a good mirror. No.
So, Sister Sage, though, so you had the theory, and I liked it, although it was dark as hell, that she killed Deep's lady friend Octopus.
Yeah, it turns out, nope, that was just what she had shoved in her own head.
Yeah, her own lobotomy. So, Sister Sage as a character is an interesting one, because Homelander bringing her in is actually a very sensible thing that he's done. but I'm still unclear at this because she was right. Everything she said about you don't like being wrong, and more often than not around me, I'm going to tell you that you're wrong. You don't like someone, and it's almost like he was swallowing that because he knows it's for the greater good, which isn't a very Homelander thing. So it's a strange one that it kind of feels to me that that's just an explosion waiting to happen. But if she's as smart as she keeps saying she is, surely she knows that's going to happen. I don't know. It's a strange one, that, because she's doing everything, Team Homelander at the moment, but I'm not convinced. There's something... I'm not convinced she at some point isn't going to make a move just to look after herself, which would be sensible.
And like I say, if she's the smartest person, she knows that Homelander is a ticking time bomb.
Yep.
And like, she is one no, don't do that away from him just blasting a hole in her head.
Yep.
Which is fine, because her brain will regrow, but still.
Yeah, but her head won't. No. The brain in a jar. Maybe that's the future for her character. Now, Sister Sage sets up Firecracker with a TV show, live telephone style, directly opposite the Starlighters HQ.
Yes.
So deliberately antagonizing. And she gives Firecracker some information, says to her, like, this is your finale. This is your this is what is going to be all good for you. She looks at it, smiles, and goes off. She sets up this show where Truth Bomb, and she's got Starlight's childhood pastor and all these things like, oh, she's turned away from God, she's bad, they're doing stuff to kids in there. Again, all of this, worryingly, is QAnon conspiracies that exist in our world, about some Hollywood elites and stuff like that. So it's a worrying thing to see this, and it is kind of like, oh wow, you really are, dialing this up to 11.
Oh
now,
yes.
One of the things that in the real world, one of these things that kind of always gets to me, or kind of gets me, but it's the hypocrisy. So when I was younger, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine I played rugby with, his dad was our local vicar for the village I lived in. And he said to me this once, he said, sadly, some people, the closer they are to God and divinity, the further they are away from common sense and decency. I was younger, didn't really fully understand what he meant, because he was talking to me about how some people who claim to be very devout Christian, etc., aren't that forgiving, aren't that nice. And as I got older, I realised what he meant, which is some people claim to be this, push themselves towards this to give this outer appearance of, oh, I am this good person, but in reality, you're pretty far from it. Now, Firecracker is stirring up this very conservative, very devout base in America of people who are very Christian, and they deem themselves good people, and the vast majority of them are in that. They really are good, hardworking people who believe in God and believe that what they are doing and everything that they are saying and doing is for the greater good of everybody, and that's their belief, and I fully respect that. Some aren't good. And what is interesting to me is that some people exploit that. Now, I'm not going into the real world here, but I'm just going to keep focused on the boys and say what happened in this episode with Firecracker was a brilliant example. She is using that and exploiting that literally for a personal vendetta against Starlight. You can look at the bigger picture of Homelander and stuff like that in the suits, but she's doing it out of spite, out of anger. I mean, don't get me wrong, what Starlight did to her was messed up, and she does have a reason to be mad at her, but what she is doing is manipulating a lot of very good people into believing lies, in essence, by tugging on their faith, by positioning herself as this good person. Now, Butcher spends 50 grand, and we don't actually get to see how he spends it, and I'm thankful for that. Because the very brief description in MM looks like he looked terrified afterwards. So Yeah, I'm glad we didn't get to see it. But you spent 50 grand.
I'm genuinely concerned about what it was. Because, MM has seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, love sausage.
Yeah.
MM has seen a lot of stuff. So for him to walk out of the room going, oh my God, I'm like, oh my gosh, what did Butcher do?
Yeah, so I'm delighted we didn't get to see that. Like, there's some things in the show, like I see, and I'm just like, I'm never not going to unsee that. And so this is one of those things that they left it to my imagination, and my imagination's going, no, I'm taking a day off. No, we're not going to think about that. We're not going to visualize it. We're good.
My imagination has gone, do you know what? What he did was he paid someone £50,000 to get some information.
That's it. There we go.
I am happy with that.
So he gets the information that Firecracker was arrested having sex with a 15-year-old boy. Now, if you think about the beliefs of all those people she's preaching to, and the fact that she is stirring a kind of, they're having, child sex rings in there and stuff like that, and she is quite literally done and been arrested for the thing that she is, accusing others of, the thing that her base that she is rallying are ready to lynch people for, and she has done that. But the way she just, okay, send the tweet, I'll do it myself, bang. Because she walks out on that stage, I need to confess. I need to say this. I believe that the good Lord put this boy in front of me so I would change my ways and do that. And all of those good people who are watching that then would forgive her because they're good people. Because she has manipulated that. Rather than like it coming out and people being shocked by it, she's walked out on stage basically begging forgiveness and saying that she's changed, and then the pastor that's there says, oh, I know, you're this. So all those good people are like, oh, that poor woman, she was tested but she's come through it. And because she was tested, she's come through it, and now she's perfect to tell us about other bad people because she's had that in her past. What was your opinion like? Because I was just kind of blown away with how well written that was, and kind of horribly
that was
eerie.
Horribly brilliant, I think is the way to describe it. Yeah. It's like one of those things where she's done something awful. She's telling people about other people doing the same thing. Yeah. And then she's come out of it as the good guy, and it's like, geez, that is...
Yeah, so she literally arrested for having sex with a minor. Right, so she has literally done that, and everyone there now knows it. But she's managed to position herself as, this was put in my path, and it was a test. And she even makes a little comment about the boys. Oh, he had this smile or something like, and it like she kind of loses it for a moment because she clearly really liked him, and it's like, that's really messed up. But she's positioned this way, and then she drops the bomb. She drops the kind of nuclear thing to a base, which has got to be one of the most divisive topics, not just in America, but around the world. And it's around a woman's right to choose an abortion. Now, I consider myself a fairly smart person, but it's not a debate I'm going to get into. But I do believe that women have a right to choose, and I do believe that this show, in this instant, showed very quickly how someone can be hated on for making a choice which still, at this moment of recording and in the boys' universe, is a legal choice. Not breaking laws, not doing anything like that. And she was, within seconds, Starlight's a baby killer. Stuff like that was being said.
Yep. Instantly.
I've said how I feel on it, and mate, don't feel pressured to come out with what you think. But with just focusing on the scene, once that was said, I want to point out as well that it was kind of a shock because, that's Huey's baby? Does Huey know? I was kind of like...
That's where I was. So, leaving that side of it alone, I kind of went into the, oh my God, Huey is going to flip.
Yeah.
Like, I am expecting that to be... She said about your finale part, and I was like, that's how she rips the boys apart because... Annie's done this. Huey doesn't know about it. We see her walk into that room afterwards, and Huey's there.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, he's going to explode. And then he kind of turns around and goes, but this was our choice. How dare she talk about it? I was like, oh, okay. Okay, that didn't go where I thought it would.
No,
okay.
I was delighted, though. I was delighted that they're a couple and they're united. And because I think it could have been a very, like you said, it would have been very divisive and it would have created a divide, but I liked that. There is something that's going on in this episode, which I'm going to circle back to, which I am confused about with how close the boys are and how close Huey and Starlight are. But just focusing on this then, Starlight then snaps and beats the shit out of her live on TV. I mean, literally is pummeling her with all of the phones, everything going out live, literally on a live TV-a-thon. I mean, me personally, my opinion of her in that moment, good girl. But, what do you think?
She pummels, doesn't she? She absolutely pummels her. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, is this what Sister Sage had actually had planned?
I think so.
Like, I think Sister Sage fully planned on knowing that reaction would happen.
And think about the location.
Now, right outside.
Yeah, so she could literally
now
just walk across the road.
The president-elect has now completely cut ties, and I'm like, this is what I was saying. I think it was last week. We've only done one on the podcast. When I was saying about Sister Sage being smart in that sort, in like a different sort of way, the manipulation and everything else. This is where it is.
It is,
and you look at it. Oh, what a move!
The level of tactics in that, because any supporters of any devout Christian supporters of Starlight are now questioning that. Any supporters of her who were kind of on the fence, she's railing against soups but is a soup. Oh my God, she just beat that woman to near death on live TV. Yeah. So we can't trust. So you've basically you've destroyed the Starlighters, really. That whole movement.
Yeah, that's gone.
So yeah, I mean, to me, it's like a tactical masterclass, and that's why Homelander brought her in. For me, again, it's a strange one for Homelander because he tends to think of himself as all-powerful, all-knowing, but it's working. Sister Sage is one step ahead. Well, she's playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. She's nailed it, and then getting lobotomized and nailing the deep. So it's a strange one. In amongst all of this carnage, what's going on? In amongst all of this, Butcher is stolen the keys, and Frenchie lets himself into Firecracker's kind of what do they call it? RV trailer. Thank you. Yeah. And he's rummaging around, and he gets caught by this pastor. And he's like, "Oh, I'm a big fan." He tries to play it off. Pastor's not having any of it and attacks him. MM and Butcher hear it over the radio. Frenchie's hurt and thrown through a window, and Butcher goes in to confront this pastor, who is a soup. We didn't realise, but he is. Kind of like Mr. Stretch Armstrong guy. Frenchie's badly hurt. Butcher is basically being strangled by this guy, wrapped his arm around him and is strangling him, and Butcher's close to passing out, and he sees Becca, and Becca's shouting at him to get up, fight Butcher, this isn't how you go out. And then Butcher kind of blacks out, and then when Butcher comes to, it's carnage. It is
that bloke has exploded.
Yeah, so that the
so
guy...
now I'm really wondering, because we've seen a couple of times already this weird, wormy kind of parasite-y thing under the skin.
Yeah.
And that was working its way towards his eyes and his brain when he passed out. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, what is in that body? What has he got inside him?
We learn through a conversation he has with Huey, which we're going to come on to in a minute, that he took V to try and fix himself. So he took the 10th V, which is killing him. And then he took V in the hope that would fix him, and he's like, no, it's done nothing. If anything, it's brought it on faster.
Sped the clock.
Now, I think he has, there's something, because when he was on 10th V, he was basically almost like Homelander, laser eyes, very strong, and I think perhaps that's still in there. and perhaps he's blacking, like when he blacked out, and perhaps when we see him Becca, it's not he's imagining this, but that worm thing or whatever that's how it's communicating with him. Does that make sense? Like the worm is actually
Quite
an entity.
possibly.
The worm
Quite
is
possible.
yeah. Like the worm thing is actually
Weird.
the suit is the power, and like get up. This isn't how you go out, and then just because it's not just like the arm's been ripped off this guy and the torso's there. He's ripped apart. There's blood everywhere. Guts.
He's like, exploded.
It's like laser eyes, and it's like he's been blown apart.
Yeah.
And there's bits of him everywhere. And Starlight, after beating that woman to a pulp, get there, and they're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And like,
they just look in the window and they're like, "What the
fuck happened?" But again, when you think back to what's happened here, and so you've seen Starlight attack Firecracker live on TV. The police and everyone and all the public are then going to find out that pastor that was on TV has been ripped apart. They're going to blame Starlight for that as well.
Yep.
So this, this could not have gone better for Homelander and everything. This is like really, really wrecked the place. But what the fuck is going on with Butcher? Like that's like a couple of times he's kind of not been very with it and looked a bit faint. You saw him fall over out of the shower and stuff, and now this, like that's terrifying. Butcher is now a ticking time bomb as much as Homelander is, which is
very much so.
Yeah, which is a worrying thing. So I want to focus in on Huey before we finish the show talking about the Homelander story arc, because that's definitely the one to finish on. So I had a theory that we were seeing, we knew that Butcher was seeing Becca, and we knew the 10th V had messed him up, and I had this dark theory that Huey was seeing his mother wasn't really there. I think this episode kills that, unless it's a real clever switch coming. But there's a moment where she nods to a nurse and the nurse walks off. Now, it could just be a clever thing because, again, she's not spoken. Like the nurse could just be waiting on Huey, and Huey's like talking to himself, and the nurse just walked off. I don't know, but there's also a moment Huey hands her coffee, and the mother sees the V, and I'm guessing the mother gives it to the father. But again, this could be retcon, so I'm not sure if my theory is wrong. What do you think? Do you think I'm wrong now, and the mother's really there? Or do you think that we're going to see that actually Huey did it himself, but in his mind he's kind of not? I don't know.
Well, I didn't see the mum seeing the V. I thought Huey hid it.
Yeah. But then
all
it's
of a
in
sudden
the
the V's going into the blood, and you're like, hold up. What will now be really interesting is if Huey goes to his pocket and it's still there.
Well, yeah, that'd be weird.
Because then all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, the mum really is in Team Vault and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that moment where you kind of see the blue in there. You're like, oh shit. Like,
so what do you think? I mean,
what that's going to do.
I wrote in my notes, I think my theory is wrong. But then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, you know what? It could still be right. It could just be like, you could retcon this, like you could go back and realise that she wasn't there and Huey was basically arguing with himself, struggling with it, and thinks in his own mind, I decided not to do it, but actually he did. Do you know what I mean? Because if he's having the same sort of problems that Butcher is, he could be completely acting like out of anyways. But I mean, the easiest and probably the most obvious is she's really there. and like she kind of, I don't know, thought maybe he had it, like checked his pockets, I don't know, or saw him slide it into his pocket and then he left to get some air or something. Yeah. So that's kind of, that's the easiest thing and probably the most likely. I'm probably overthinking it. But here's the thing that's kind of confusing me, and I'd love to get your take on this and whether it's something you've even thought about. Huey's dad is dying.
Yes.
Where is everybody?
Yeah.
He's got a girlfriend in Starlight. Now, don't get me wrong, I know everyone's got stuff going on, but his dad's dying.
And he's the only person that's turned up, yeah.
Butcher's not there for him.
Butcher knows about it, and he's off doing his own thing.
Starlight's not there. His partner, she's not there. All these people that, are his friends. None of them.
No one's
there for him. The only person who sort of spends any time with him in this episode is Kimiko, and even she's not like coming to the hospital with him or anything. She's just like tagged along with him whilst he went to try and get hold of V. I mean, she's pretty mad at him for that, but I think she understands where his head's at.
He just asked her to come with him to be the muscle, so she could be the muscle.
Quite literally, thanks for being my muscle, which I love that visual, and I love that kind of fun, she's sort of dainty girl, but she's like one of the strongest characters in the whole thing. I love that.
Yes.
We see him talk to A-Train. A-Train agrees to go and get him some V from Homelander's apartment if that squares them, if Huey forgives him. What do you think about A-Train in this? It feels to me like far too obvious that A-Train's going to screw them over. But all his actions at the moment suggest that he has changed sides. All his actions and the way he is. And
he's done with Homelander. At the very least, he's done with Homelander. But then apparently so's Ashley. Taking a shit in his loo and leaving it.
That was funny. How juvenile, leaving a floater in his toilet. What did you think about him going through Homelander's apartment, finding the pubes in the jar and the milk?
Just like gross. Yeah,
just messed up.
It's so messed up and gross.
But he does it. He gets the V for Huey, and Huey
actually... that's going to have some back kick as well, I think.
Yeah. Well, it'd be amazing to me if Homelander doesn't have cameras everywhere in his apartment, but less.
Well,
But Huey actually says, I forgive you. We're good. We're square now. I wasn't sure we'd get there, but at the same time, when Butcher confronts him, like, what the fuck? I get what Huey was saying, which is it's not about him. I can't carry this. Like, I can't keep hating people. I need to let this go from me. And I liked that.
You can't live a life just being angry and hating everyone.
He's obviously always going to be hurt by that. He's always going to be pained by that. It's had a horrific effect on his life, and like he says, every messed up thing that's happened in his life has happened since that point. But he's also seeing A-Train has changed dramatically in the last few years. He's been through a lot himself, and that's changed him. And now you've got this kind of situation where he's actually asking for V to save it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like he has to realise, hang on a minute, how could I be so hypocritical? So I like that. And I also liked how honest he was, which was, you're right, I was going to take this off you and just say, F you, but no, I do forgive you. I think that was a good moment for both of them. I think it helps A-Train on his kind of steps towards feeling like he's making some amends. And I think it helps Huey let that go, sort of let go of that, which is good. So like I said, we do see Huey's dad's in the hospital bed, and we do see the V go into his system, and all of a sudden he seems to snap out.
Your eyes open, and you're like, oh no.
So,
which is fine until he does something mentally messed up, and you're like, oh crap.
So that's going to be interesting. Now, whilst getting the V, Kimiko and Huey come under fire. The people that... by the way, Kimiko communicating via text message is very funny.
I love that, yeah.
So they're like gunfire going along, and she's like, why are they firing at us? And she holds up this message, I may have murdered a few of them. It's like, oh, Kimiko, you're the best. You are absolutely the best. What the fuck is the history with this girl? I mean, this girl basically seems to be blaming Kimiko for her life. Like, you kidnapped me off the streets. I am now one of these people because of you. Also, by the way, blew her up with a grenade launcher, which was awesome.
That was a scene and a half. Yeah. Because Huey's like, oh my god. Oh wait, she's fine. She'll be fine.
Yeah, it takes a minute, but she'll be alright. It did make me think though, that would she Deadpool it? Like, so for example, if she got blown apart like that and someone took her legs or arms and separated her out, would she ever be able to regenerate? without coming back together? There you go. There's
I
a thought
don't know.
for you. Yeah. Because, like, Deadpool, like, regrows. So, like, you rip his legs off, his legs will regrow. But would that be for Kimiko, or would...
Yes, because in the last episode, remember her arm gets cut off, and then her arm grows. That's why she misses the grab. So, yeah, she does just regrow.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. It's good.
Pretty cool.
She is the Deadpool, but far prettier in this. Huey kills a guy.
Yes, Huey does.
That was quite...
Huey doesn't just kill him. Huey really does go to town.
Yeah, and
like
seeing Huey like covered in blood, like a butcher style moment, is quite crazy. But also, I like the everyman aspect of Huey, where he in this moment is trying to save his dad's life.
Yeah,
and to get there, and I think Kimiko says, like, you want your dad to live, you have to fight. He's done his ankle, all this stuff, and he just battles through to that point. And there's something quite there's always been something quite endearing about Huey, but in that moment as well, it's like, oh damn, he's got over these 4 years with the boys.
We've seen him do some stuff. We've seen him do some stuff, but that was just cold hearted, just slice. You're like, oh my god. Okay.
I still remember him blowing up the
translucent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was so messed up. Okay, so this brings me now to discussing Homelander's story in this episode. One of the things we've talked about before, and one of the things this actor has nailed, and I mean nailed, is the quiet, terrifying calm. So he arrives at this place, this lab, which was home, where he was created, and he walks in with a cake. And he's like, hey, everybody, I'm home, sort of thing.
Like, I'm already on alert by the fact that all the cameras went out before he got there, and you're like, oh, no.
Yeah. Now, he is ripped through this place, without a doubt. We know that. People down in that lab probably know that. But what the hell can they do? Nothing. And he walks in with the cake, and it is just calm. Hey, everybody, I thought I'd come back like a bit of a reunion. Hey, where's so-and-so? Get her in here.
Where's Barbara? Get her in here. Yeah, it's like, oh, God.
It's terrifying. Like, he's chatting to them normally, but I'm terrified.
Because at any second he's going to. It's not even like he could. It's like he's going to.
And it's so good. Like, the guy, he has nailed it. And now, because he's nailed it so well, they can write scenes like this where you're waiting and you're dreading, almost like cringing, like just waiting for him to lose it. And there's this moment he's chatting to this guy, and he's like, "Oh, he
starts playing the game, the waste paper."
Yeah, and
as soon as he starts that, you're like, "It's coming. Oh, it's gonna happen."
And he says to him like, "Oh, you beat me. You get the knockoff early." Like all fun and games. And I'm thinking, "Oh, if he beats him, he's just gonna kill him." And then he says that about, "Oh, in that room there, I learnt you do this whilst I was in that room, and you were burning my skin off. Yeah, my skin regenerates, but it hurts. Remember how I was in there screaming in pain, and you made that shot and then turned it up?" And I was like, "Oh no." So I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
In this scene, which is dark, terrible, messed up, you learn that Homelander, as a child, had some pretty sick shit done to him by these people.
Yep.
Do you feel any kind of sorry for him? Are we supposed to? Is this scene in this arc, in this episode, meant to kind of make us go, "Oh, Homelander's the way he is because of the way he's treated, people did this to him"? Are we supposed to feel sorry for him? Because I got to be honest, I came away from it and I don't. I'm like, you're just a messed up son of a bitch, and I don't, you are, to me, someone that needs to be put down, regardless of what was done to you. But do you feel that that's the way they're going with this?
I don't think so, purely because I think the writers of this show are better than that. If they wanted you to feel something for him, I think this would have been done very differently.
Okay.
I think it was done as a kind of almost like a homage to you should feel sorry for him, but we all know you're not going to because he's about to laser someone's dick off.
Literally.
Like, yeah, literally. Yeah. And it's like, if he hadn't have done those bits, that's what makes me think, nah, you're not meant to feel sorry for him. You're meant to be just scared of this bloke.
And we are, by the way, very, very scared.
Yep.
So he burns the guy alive and then turns to the next guy. And because you've just seen that, this lovely, calm conversation's going to take a turn because you saw it happen with the last one. And he starts talking about, this place is all the cameras. There was nowhere you could really any privacy. And I was a growing boy and, was doing what boys do. And I'm like, oh, no, I know where this is going. And I'm like, remember you called me squirt? And I'm like, oh, no, this is going to be so bad. This is going to be so bad. And then he says to him, right, all of us are going to watch you jerk off right now. And I'm like...
And we're all going to laugh at you so you know how it feels.
And I'm like, oh, my God. This is...
It's like... You don't even need to... You just... The facial expressions of the bloke and you're like, oh, my God. It's like, I can't do it. You got two options. You can either get hard or I'll cut it off.
Yeah, literally, it's like, if you don't get hard, I'll give you some motivation. If you don't get hard, I'm going to laser your dick off. Yeah, okay, that's motivation. Spitting on his hand. I mean, mate, just this whole scene, I'm just like, oh my God, what am I watching? I was trying to eat my lunch as well.
Yeah, I've learned never watch The Boys around mealtime.
Yeah, you're right. Good lesson. Thanks.
Yep. If you watch it before, you're not going to be hungry. But if you watch it after, you're going to be very queasy. So don't watch it during.
I put down the sausage I was eating pretty fast. So he burns the one guy, he lasers the other guy's dick off, and then stomps on his head to put him out of his misery. Now,
the thing is Barbara arrives
very calm,
and she's very calm and tells him put him out of his misery, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, she is calm. Now, do you remember?
And messed up.
the guy who was the head of Vault at the time, like Edgar, was always very calm around him. And I always thought, wow, I was like, they must have a kill switch or something. Like, this guy must know about it. Like, Homelander turns to face him, he hits a button, and Homelander's on his knees. Like, you can't get to me. But no, it's not that. It's just that she says to him, like, we brought in the best psychologists in the world to basically make you need approval. You were so strong, you could have left here at any point you wanted, but you craved our approval. You wanted our love, our affection, and we did that to you. We made it so you want that. Now, he then takes her off to this room and says, I called this the bad room. Do you know why I called it that? And she's like, it's just a room. And she's like being really snooty with him. Now, we don't see what happens next. We see the aftermath. Which is Homelander getting into the elevator, dripping with blood and smiling like a psychopath. And the room is everybody else other than her. She's left looking at it all, ripped to shreds. Like the room is painted with blood and guts and body parts.
Yep.
And he just leaves.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that it was interesting to me about her saying all that to him is, if you remember at the end of the last episode, the reason why he went here, go home, is because he was trying to reconcile this broken part of him, which is like, I need approval, do I care about people wanting me, this kind of thing, because Ryan, he's like, I need Ryan to like me, He's now gone there and been told, no, we did that to you. We made it so you needed that, so it keep you in line. Does that break that now? Does he, having that conversation, walk away from that like, I don't care. Like, you did that to me. I now do not give a flying what anybody thinks.
I do wonder on that. Yeah, if he can get to a stage where he doesn't care what other people think, that's even freaking scarier.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
At least at the moment, there's still that little small part of him that is like, he needs people to love him and needs to be approved of. You take that away, and he just becomes stone cold. Like, I don't give a fuck.
Because I'm worried about, not worried. It's interesting, the situation with Ryan. So that character we know is strong. He's basically got Homelander's powers, and it's kind of like the first naturally born soup, which is insane, like, and really kind of worrying for, interesting, Starlight was pregnant. Would that
worrying for the entire world? I
was just thinking, Starlight was pregnant. Would that have possibly been another naturally born soup? Anyway, now we will never know.
Yeah, potentially, I guess.
But anyway, sorry. So going back to this, Ryan, I don't know how invincible he is. We know how invincible Homelander is. And the problem with Ryan, and he is still a young boy, and kids can say stuff. Like, I've got this image of, like, him turning around to Homelander and be like, your hair stinks, and Homelander, like, killing him or trying to kill him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just don't know, like, I'm so confused, like, where's that going to go? And if Homelander does snap, like, Homelander snaps and lasers him, and Ryan gets up, like, shrugs it off, what's that going to do to Homelander that all of a sudden there's a younger, stronger him, which is already it's already messing with him that he's older now. He's aging, he's not invincible.
And he doesn't like the idea of Ryan taking the limelight off him at all.
No, he doesn't. And imagine if he does snap, he does do that thinking, I'm just going to end the little shit. And Ryan gets up.
Looks at him and goes, you're getting weak, old man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he says that, that's going to be like hell. But if he just survives it, I think Homelander would freak. I did see a theory online, which I feel could end up being what happens in the show. Like, everyone's like, Butcher's gonna die, because obviously we know he's dying, and they're done, unless something happens that cures it or something comes along, Butcher's gonna go out. And everyone's like, perhaps it's Butcher going out saving Ryan in some way from Homelander, which finally turns Ryan to being against Homelander, and it is Ryan who finally takes him down. It's a theory.
I think it's very, very possible that Ryan is the one that ends Homelander.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know what that does to Ryan. Like, he was upset and, like, distraught that he accidentally killed the actor.
Yeah, but
what is going to be happening to turn him into, I'm not doing this anymore?
I think, it's going to be interesting. He definitely has an affection for Butcher. When Butcher told him, Ryan, I say things because I'm not a good person, and I never said that, I shouldn't have said that, and you shouldn't have heard it and stuff. I think that reconciled a lot. I think that kind of healed that anger that he had for him, and he sees him as just a flawed person that his mum loved. And Ryan, you can doubt a lot of stuff about him, wonder where he's coming from, but when it comes to his feelings towards his mother, there's no doubt. And he's getting older. And I think when there's a moment where he realizes that he's alive because his mother was raped by Homelander. Do you see where I'm going? It's like,
there's going to be a moment where that clicks, and it's going to suddenly be like, you hurt my mum.
Yeah. And it's like, hang on a minute. That's
going to be the line before he kills him.
Yeah, you did this to my mother. Bang. There's a character who's not appeared yet in this series, and there's a lot of kind of, is he even still alive? Where is he? Well, I think we all know the CIA have got him locked down, and that's Soldier Boy.
Yes.
Now we know that Soldier Boy has the power and everything to take Homelander out. We've seen him, and he could have done it like a couple of occasions in the last series, but through circumstances didn't do it. Do you think with the CIA losing faith in the boys, losing faith, at some point they're going to crack that open and do a deal with Soldier Boy? Like, listen,
I don't think we've seen the last of him. How or when he returns, I don't know. I don't think we've seen the last of him.
My worry is that he returns Team Homelander because Butcher and everyone kind of screwed him a bit.
Yeah, that could be a worry.
Yeah, because then that's very worrying. Anyway, that is everything from my notes I wanted to cover. Are there any bits and pieces that I've missed or you want to talk about?
I think we're pretty much good. The only other thing was obviously the with the election stuff going on, with the president-elect now completely disowning Starlight.
He had no choice.
The bill now looks like that's going to fall through.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Newman has now suddenly got this kind of like a lot more power.
Yeah.
And that's going to be interesting. Like, the only problem I have with The Boys is the fact that where they dropped the first 3 episodes in one go.
Yeah.
We're now halfway through this season already.
We are. Yeah, we are.
And I'm like, damn. Like, I've literally spent 2 days watching and I'm halfway through a season. I'm like, there's still so much that I think is going to happen. And now we know that there's only one more season. We're looking at potentially we're into the last 12 episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
You mentioned the president, so I'm just going to throw this silly little thing out there as well. I mentioned last week that I binge watched the show Supernatural from the same creator, Eric Kripke, last year. And one of the things that like really has amused me since doing that is how many actors show up. And I'm kind of like, oh, he's written him in and stuff like that. Well, here's a really funny thing. President Robert Singer played a character in Supernatural called Bobby Singer. Same actor, Bobby Singer, Robert Singer. There you go.
Wow.
And again, it just went completely over my head. And then in this episode, I'm like, that's one that I've just not put to. Oh my god, it's Robert Singer. You are kidding me. I've not like, how has that not clicked until now? But yeah, it did. And so President Robert Singer, President-elect Robert Singer, aka Bobby Singer from Supernatural. Mr. Kripke, you're just having fun with us now. You're just.
He really is. He's just enjoying himself.
He's living his best life. So that is our show. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Get in touch. Let us know what your thoughts are on The Boys right now and where the show is heading. As Stefan just said, we are at the halfway point. There are 4 more episodes. 4 more weeks of going, what the fuck? And oh my god, I can't believe they did that. I think they're going to land this on the biggest cliffhanger going into the final season. They've always left
100%.
They've always left us a bit like, what? And I think this one is going to be, There's still no word yet on Gen V. The plan always was that there'd be another season of Gen V. Of course, they were mentioned in this episode. The Godolphin University, massacre, and these people have vanished. So it was mentioned. We do know that that's out there, and obviously due to circumstances, the writing of that show's had to change, etc. So
wasn't that just such a clever way to link the two together? Just them skipping through the channels.
Perfect.
That was brilliant.
Absolutely perfect. They're doing this really well. As a spin-off, you can watch it and enjoy it, and they're combining it in a way where there's references and stuff, but it's not a case of.
I'm sure I saw one of the girl in one of the trailers. I'm sure I saw one of the trailers to this.
We'll see.
It's interesting to see.
We will see. But anyway, massive thank you again, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. Say goodbye to all the lovely people.
Goodbye, all the lovely people.
And I'll leave you with this.
Tell you what, I'll give you a little motivation. You get hard right now, or I'm going to lazy your dick off. Okay? Yes!
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.